Well, happy Sunday to you on this daylight savings time in the United States of America. My name is Nate with the Volunteer Tech Vlog. See, let me look you in the eye here. Where's the camera? It's right here. On the Volunteer Tech Vlog on the Live Sound 101 YouTube channel. That is one of those odd things about talking into a phone, is that the camera's right there. Yet for some reason, I always talk with my eyes kind of like a little bit off camera. I gotta be better at that. Gotta be better at looking you in the eye right there. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I've noticed that. I've watched some of my videos, and I tend to not look the camera in the eye, A, because I'm driving, but in those moments when I do have a chance to look the camera in the eye, I usually look in the wrong corner of the phone because I forget where that little front-facing camera is. So today, I'm driving to the church. I'm up early doing sound on this daylight savings time, daylight savings Sunday, and let's drive. I like to record these videos while I drive. So I'm headed over to the church right now, and let's see, what type of video was I gonna make this? So I just did a video on copyright and just like the issues with copyright and some stuff that I'm dealing with on YouTube specifically, but YouTube's a whole nother animal. Copyright is bigger than just YouTube, obviously. It affects music, CDs, live performances, commercial work, all that type of stuff. But I think I wanted to talk about what? See, this would really help if I thought things through a little bit more. It's one of those things where I'm starting to run out of things to say off the top of my head. I really need to like write down, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about in this video. This is what I'm going to talk about in this video. I know what I want to talk about. The headphone mix and solo, the importance of soloing. So this is something, why it comes up, why it's relevant right now, is because we finally, I don't think I ever talked about it. I think I mentioned that Josh donated his little 4-channel headphone amp, a little PreSonus headphone amp that he was not using, and he donated that to the church. And the headphone amp, why the headphone amp is important, because now we have 2 headphone amps. One headphone amp is basically taking the broadcast mix and then, distributing it to 4 headphone jacks. So you can have 4 people up in the control room all listening to the broadcast mix. And why that is important is because the person who is doing words, running PowerPoint, now they can grab their own personal set of headphones, dial in the volume wherever they're comfortable listening, and they can hear all the words coming over the broadcast mix there, and they can hear the sermon notes coming over the broadcast mix. So the person doing words and the person actually doing the broadcast mix, they'll be monitoring that one as well. Once we get a person to actually monitor the broadcast mix, make sure it sounds good, they'll be listening there. And then theoretically, if there's another person in the control room for some reason, they can hear the broadcast mix as well. So that's one headphone amp. But now, like I said, Josh donated a second headphone amp. And why that is important is because that second headphone amp, PreSonus, is dedicated 100% to the audio operator, the audio tech, the person running live sound. And that comes off of Software Audio Console's Headphone Bus, which is a specific headphone bus that we've programmed to incorporate mutes and solos, right? Well, I guess I should back up a little bit. Mutes affect everything. So if you've got your main mix up, the front of house mix, and you hit mute on something, it mutes everything downstream. So if there's if somebody's talking up at the pulpit mic and they hit the mute button on the main mix, it mutes in broadcast, it mutes in the monitors, it mutes in in-ears, it mutes in fellowship hall, it mutes all these. We've got like 5 different mixes, and the front of house mute trickles down through all the other mixes, right? And that's kind of how we want it, because if source is off, we want it to stop. We don't want that to show up in another mix when we hit that mute button, right? We've got I don't know what you call that. You call that like an Omni Mute, a multi-layer mute. It's probably a fancy name for it. But the solo is different. Solo is different. The solo button, very, 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 very different, because when you hit the solo button, the way we use things, for our purposes doing live sound, we don't want the solo button to impact the main mix, right? So if there's a guitar solo or something like that, forget the guitar solo thing. If there's a specific source that you're trying to isolate to hear what's happening, like for example, you could have like a microphone on a cello, for example, and let's say that microphone gets kicked or moved or something like that, and you're not getting much signal. One of the things you can try to do is turn up the preamp, because it's a common thing. Like, hey, I'm not getting signal. Let me crank the preamp and see if that helps. And if the microphone's kicked over or pointed in the wrong direction, that's a recipe for feedback, because now you're just cranking that preamp, and nothing good's gonna happen. And maybe you don't have a good line of sight view of like what's happening there with that microphone you didn't know got kicked over. One of the things you can do is hit solo, but you don't want a rude solo. So a rude solo would interrupt the main mix, and if you hit solo on a particular channel on the main mix, that would basically mute everything else, and it would be very disruptive. It would be rude. We've programmed our solo to not be rude, so that when you hit solo, the only thing that happens, the only mix that gets affected is the headphone mix. So I can have my own personal, what do you call it? Like detective headset, right? Think of it as an investigative headset, where you get special powers to isolate things and separate it from the herd, separate it from the rest of the mix, and kind of hear what's going on. So if I take that cello mic and I can't see it, something's not right, I'm not getting good signal, and I hit solo, now I can hear, a foot tapping or something like that. I'm like, oh, why do I hear foot tapping? And, maybe it's because the microphone fell off the stand and it's right near the cello player's foot, and there's foot tapping, and I'll know not to turn the preamp up. I know that there's actually something else that went wrong. So the solo is a very important tool for a live sound person to listen to things, to isolate things from the rest of the mix without affecting the main mix in the house, and the broadcast mix, and the Fellowship Hall, the overflow mix, and so on and so forth. So I think in the last couple weeks, I might have mentioned this concept a while back, but in the last couple weeks, we actually got this secondary headphone amp installed and fully operational. So it is a very good thing. We can solo things. So, in the past, because we shared a headphone amp with everybody else, it was one of those weird things where if I really needed to solo something, I kind of had to like give everybody the heads up. Oh, I got to solo something, and like let me turn this down. And then we had a little powered speaker hooked up to one of the channels from the headphone amp, and that was sometimes just playing quietly in the control room so that people could hear what's going on. And if I did a solo, it would affect that, and the way, that's the way things are set up. Sometimes when you hit solo, it boosts the signal too, so it can be startling for people if they're not ready for it. So that's pretty much it. I think I wanted to just cover, it's great to have the solo button in, fully functional, and I wanted to explain kind of why it's important to have a solo button, how you should use it when you're doing live sound to isolate things out. And you just got to be careful how it's programmed, because there is such thing as a rude solo that will interrupt the main mix. There's a number of different ways you can program things. So it's pre-fader, post-fader, and it really just depends on what you're doing and how you're using it. broadcast applications are going to have a little bit of a different thinking behind why you choose what you choose versus a live sound, live reinforcement application versus recording, multi-channel recording. I mean, there's different possibilities for different tasks. So that will do it for this little audio lesson on soloing as I try to remember to look you in the eye here. Thank you for watching this video. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. And thanks for checking out the community. We've got like 420 something people over on the Live Sound 101 Google Plus community. So that is a very cool thing. I'm gonna try to add some interesting articles and links and stuff over there. Curate some relevant content for audio video professionals and live sound professionals over there. But yeah, some really cool people over there. Yeah. Live Sound 101. Thanks again, guys. See you in the next video.